Hey guys, welcome to another session of Epic 7. So today we're going to be talking about Luna. So Luna has a return banner. I suppose there's a controversy behind it, mainly talking about Draco Plate. For this video though, I'm going to aim this at probably like newer players, or at least players who didn't have Luna and looking for builds. Now oftentimes when I'm using Luna, mostly in GVG, I would say, some people end up asking, like either on YouTube or even on stream, like, hey, can I see your Luna stats after this? And usually at that time, I'm just like, yeah, okay, sure. But, a lot of my previous Luna feature videos did show the stats. Now, I'll quickly do this, just show you guys the stats here. I do, in high-end GVG, when I do run her, on 2 builds. One, I do use a lifesteal set. I will explain that, like the reason why I do that, and also I run her on attack set. We'll go through like her kit and why I think she should be built a particular way. But again, I've seen so many different types of Luna builds, and it would be also built differently for defensive and offensive comps as well. So those are just my like initial thoughts. Luna is incredibly strong. So I do believe that people who don't have Luna will and should be pulling for her. Although a lot of times, especially if you hear from high-end players, they'll always, if you're talking about PvP specifically, competitive, they'll always aim like if this hero is good on a defense team and an offense team. And I would say that the Luna is definitely more of an offensive hero than a defensive, like I've said it earlier. So these are the stats I'm kind of running here. I will, in this part of the recording, I will show a couple of probably my GVG highlights, and again, why people ask, what are your Luna stats? Okay, now she's dead. Now she's dead for sure. Okay. At least we won't have constant heals. Oh my, yeah, it's over. Unless Luna gets like, oh! Wait. Oh shoot, he got all his health back. Wait. No, not yet. If he has his S3 and he hits Luna, it's dead. So it's RNG. It went with the end. Yes! Got it. GG, man. GG. Whoa. Wow. Oh, can I kill her off right now? Let's try it. No, I'm a bit hasty here, but that's Cecilia. Feels bad. She's alive! What? How does it have a ult? The AI, like the defense, as his bonus, sometimes like the damage shifts to the top, the back to the front. It's really weird. I think that there's no orders. Oh, okay. I saw the cigar say activated. I thought I didn't kill it. I'm just gonna S3. It can work on some strategy. 1% missing chance? No, we got it. Oh, low effect resistance, for sure. Oh yeah, it is cigarette safe. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it is. Syria damage. My Syria doesn't have attack. Pretty decent defense though on players. Oh. Why? That's weird. Doesn't make sense. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna be waiting. Oh my goodness! Holy crap! What a show off. Okay, it's over. It's over. Carry. Alright, nice. Oh my goodness. Okay, never mind. I don't need to save it. What's your Luna stat? People are just asking on Steam on purpose. Yeah, this is why I always like running my F-line right under my Luna, just in case that happens. So your Valkyria. Oh wait, actually maybe not, because he might have almost one shot. Almost, okay. Alright, let's see if my plan. Oh, Soulburn is dead. Hopefully we can. Oh, Luna! If it doesn't kill it, my F-line should go to S3. So, yeah. Okay. Yes! Yes! Just to get that show off. Good job. The first round was definitely a bit. When you're using her to fight, she can look really impressive. So again, while my stats here may not be like the best in terms of a damage dealer, these are at least some of the minimal stats that you may want. I would highly recommend, however you get the stats, and whether or not you run her on a speed set, that's up to you. But Luna, you should be looking at like pretty decent health. Like I have 12,000 right there. That's neither enough to survive a one shot, but it's enough to at least like mitigate some sort of like AOE damage. So it's kind of nice to have. Crit rate, highly suggest the 70 crit rate at least. That way you don't need to run something like Hell Cutter on my standard Luna builds. I just don't like to deal with that 5% miss crit RNG. Again, if you know her passive, if you max all this out, and I do recommend if you are looking into Luna, you're looking at the way to use her the way I kind of do. I highly do recommend that you do max her out. She's an insane single target damage dealer. I would say probably one of the strongest, just because of her passive really skyrockets her damage output, and then also it makes her easier to build. So if her health is above 50% or more, you get a 30 up to. So if you molder this, 30% more attack and critical hit chance. So it's not reflected on paper here. So this is post. This is after you get into the match. Now, the 30% attack is actually calculated after all your gear. So generally, like let's say if you take a ring and has 60% attack, it's scaled or multiplied by your base attack, which Luna I think is like 1,100 something like that for a Libra warrior, 1,100 plus. And so it's really insane. Like basically, the higher attack you have shown on this stat page, the more this will obviously multiply. So it's an insane passive for Luna, and it remains to be one of the strongest things I think in a damage dealer kit. Now obviously the 30% crit chance should also not be ignored. Again, it's not reflected on the stat page here. This is applied when you're in a battle, when you're actually using her. So really she's looking at a 95% crit rate if her health is above 50% or more. Once her health does drop, and I think a lot of times, even myself, I actually forget, but you actually increase the defense by 30%, but also decrease the chance of suffering a critical hit by 30%, which is equal to a anti-crit buff, kind of like a DN's S3. If you know DN's kit, well, it kind of works that way. So there's been once or twice where I fought a Luna on a GVG defense, and I tried to use Biken. Wasn't defense broken, but my Biken did the S3 on Luna. S2 on Luna, and then when I wanted to do the S3 for the CR boost for the rest of the team, it actually didn't critical hit. Even though at that time my Biken would have had 100% critical hit because Biken is Earth and Luna is Ice. So this passive is pretty nice. So the S2 dipped that defensive Luna down under 50%, and then I just got bad RNG. So that's pretty nice to have. It's like gives her a bit of sustainability, but at the same time, again, I've seen different Lunas built different ways. Some are built more, you know, you can call it bruisery, but I would just say a bit more tanky. So like 15,000 HP or something like that. But of course that hinders her damage output. So unless you're trying to throw off your enemy a bit, like let's say on GVG, you run it on defense, 15,000 HP, Luna, probably not super fast, probably not super strong, maybe like, you know, on a speed set, maybe like 150, 160 speed, and then, but not really strong. So you might take, you know, some players off guard by them bringing like just a hero that's not enough to one-shot Luna, and then Luna still be able to kill their squishy heroes. But after the first fight, if a guild war is properly, you know, done, that first player will be able to report the stats on the Luna, saying that, oh, it's actually weak damage, but has really high health. So, you know, that kind of goes against Luna's build. And this is why I still think that Luna probably not so good of a defense hero, especially in the current meta when we're talking about high ranking GVG. Her S3 has a 1.5 times mod. So I usually compare this with Sid. So Earth Sid, after he gets a speed buff, his S3 becomes always using an advantageous element. So basically this description here on Luna, what that means is that it has no weakness. So that means if Sid has a speed buff, he'll be able to actually land always, never miss, on a fire hero. That's the example. So again, same thing for Luna. If she uses her S3, let's say on Charles, always will land it, because Charles is an earth, usually is stronger than ice in terms of elemental advantage, but because it always attacks with the greater element, she'll never miss. And in fact, not only that, the S3 will also give two types of advantages. One, for elemental advantage, you always gain 15% more crit rate on it. So even if I was not at 100%, let's say if I don't have Hellcutter on, if I'm not at 100%, the S3 lands is an additional 15%. So really, the S3 is just amazing. And then plus 10% more damage for being an advantageous element. So it makes the S3 much stronger than it is on paper, but otherwise it's a 1.5 times mod without a soul burn. Sid is 1.6, and then the soul burn makes Luna's S3 into a 2.2 times mod, which is the same as Sid's soul burn as well. But that being said, her POW is a 1.05, so it's very, very strong, the S3. The only thing that's hindering her from being a total damage dealer is that the raw damage, if you look at the skill enhance, is only 25% more damage dealt, which is very, very low if you consider single target nukers. So for example, I'm going to pull up like someone like Sirmia. I think Sirmia, if I'm not mistaken, has 40%, so 10, 20, 30, 40, yeah, 40%. So you can see that it's very, very different. Now, obviously, Sirmia is a really good nuker as well, so that's why I'm competing. And then someone like C-Dom, even though her nuke is on the S1, it has a 50% more damage. So, see, it's 20, 30, oh, it's 40%, sorry, my bad. I said 50. I think Cigarette is 50. Cigarette's also really insane for single target. But her soul burn is 3 times mod, but it does require 20 souls, so that's kind of out of the question. Whereas Luna and Sirmia both have their own advantages in terms of being an elemental nuker, but Luna's I like a lot. Of course, you will also leave them with a defense break. If your effectiveness is high enough and you run the effectiveness check and you actually beat it, you will land a defense break for 2 turns. A 2-turn defense break is absolutely awesome, especially for someone like Luna. Like, she can set up for like another hero to finish off if she can't. If you somehow lack the damage, she can do that. So it's amazing. The S1 is usually why I think people are asking, what's your Luna stats? Her S1 does something very interesting. It is 0.7 times mod. If basically there's a randomness to it. On the S1, there's 3 tiers of damage, 3 tiers of hits. And you'll see it in the animation itself. If it hits like a lot, like slice, then it's the maximum hit. We call it 1 hit, 2 hit, 3 hit. The 1 hit version is 0.7, very, very low mod for single target damage. Sirmia's S1, I think it does a 1.2, pretty insane. Yufine on her exclusive equipment does a 1.3 times mod, which it was originally a 1, and then you add 30% to it, so 1.3 times mod equivalence, and that's pretty insane. So Luna, if you get unlucky, her S1 compared to the other nukers is pretty bad. However, generally on average, you'll always do the 2-hit. The 2-hitter is a 1.4 times mod. 1.4 times mod is incredibly strong if you really think about it, compared to like Surmi at 1.2, Yufine that I just said 1.3. Oh, however, again, the damage is a bit lacking. It's only up to a 35% more damage dealt. It's still not super strong, but it's better than nothing. So in my opinion, if you are building her as a first turn nuker, you do want to max out the S3. However, when I played Luna at the beginning, I think I maxed out the passive first, S1 first, and then S1 second, and then I did the S3. I got it to 100% effect chance for the defense break, and it took me forever to get the final damage dealt. I ended up doing it just because I justified it through my use of Luna. I do use her a lot, so I mean that's the reason. Yeah, like I said, so when you get to the 3-hitter though, the 3-hitter hits almost as hard as her S3, minus the elemental advantage. Unless you are hitting fire, of course the elemental advantage will count in terms of that 10% extra damage. But it's a 2.1 damage mod. If you do the S1, it is a lower POW, so no matter what, a Soulburn S3 will always do more damage. But the S1, when it hits the multiple hits, the highest tier hit, is a 2.1 times, which is just incredibly strong for an S1. Of course, like I said, it is RNG based. Now, the S3 has a 10 turn cooldown, 10 turns, but every time you use the S1, it lowers the cooldown. Tier 1 hit will lower by 1, Tier 2 will lower by 2, and then Tier 3 will lower by 3. If running a proper team, if you want to reset Luna's cooldown constantly, something like a Lilius with like Tamarine and Idle Form with her dual attack, or Kitty Clarissa, something like that, that can always, almost, well, for Lilius it's not always, but Kitty Clarissa and Tamarine always goes for the highest attack. If Luna on the team is the highest attack, man, you're gonna get her cooldown back really quick. However, I think when I'm running Hall of Trials and I'm using Luna, I think that most of the damage comes from the RNG aspect of the S1. If she does the 2.1 hit, 2.1 hit, 2.1 hit, it's amazing damage, like how much damage she can do. So anyways, I'll show you guys the individual pieces and the stats and compare the builds. I want to do some damage tests again. I want to run Portrait, Uberius Tooth, and then also the new artifact Draco Plate. So let's run this. As I'm doing this video, I'm also thinking of where I want to do this as my playground in terms of like damage test. I'll probably not even complete the. I'm thinking right now. I'll probably go to the side story maybe. I won't complete the run, so it doesn't really matter. But at least we get a basis of like how much damage we're doing. Just comparing the artifacts basically. On paper, Draco Plate is not even on paper. I would say in practice, Draco Plate is one of the most broken artifacts, especially for a warrior right now. I think it's a best in slot for almost every single damage warrior. Just to keep that in mind. So right now, I'm gonna run this team. I'm running Hellcutter, as you saw. I'm gonna run my usual rotation. My Luna, as you saw on the speed, is about 130. It's pretty slow, but not like wheelchair slow. It's just about middle range of acceptable and not acceptable. For this one, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use Taiwan as a defense breaker. Actually, Luna's getting a bonus on this, so this is not gonna be super accurate. But actually, let's just do it. Make Luna look a bit more impressive. I forgot Luna was a special character in this event.
I will guide you through the light.
I'm using her as the attack buffer, and most likely SSB might rule a one-shot. Defense break. I want to get a target debuff too. Okay, that's a one-shot now. Okay, so I won't even bother with the target debuff. So we'll compare to only the guys in the back. The guy with the dark elemental, and we'll use Luna. We'll use the S3. Again, of course, there's attack buff and then all the side story buff. So the damage here may not reflect what you're using. Yeah, the HP doesn't reflect it either. 19,000, GG. 55,000 damage. Alright, so 55,000 crit damage. That's with 3 turns of Hell Cutter. So that's almost 12%. My Hell Cutter is not max. Almost 12% damage. So that's yeah, it's 25,000 for the first one there. So let me just note this down really quick. No, 55,000 rather, 55k. Yeah, 55k with Hell Cutter. All right, so let's yield this and let's just test. So the thing about Uberius Tooth, it was one of the strongest ones for Luna as well. Now if it does proc, so I'm just gonna re-equip my Luna here, and we'll do a comparison. So Uberius Tooth scales off attack. Yeah, I think this is as high as I have. So 75% chance. But it scales off your caster's attack, which in Luna's case is absolutely bonkers too. So this might skew, because we got the event buff. So this might skew the actual outcome. So I might have to run a test on in another stage as well. But you have to land the critical hit for it to happen. So for example, if you don't... actually, I might take out SSB in the next one. She's not worth anything on this in this test. I'll probably put in C-Dom so I can always land the critical hit.
Victory is calling me.
The guy in the back resisted. GG, man, GG. I always get bad RNG. Probably run a Cursed Compass on hold on. I'll run a Cursed Compass on Tywin. I don't think he's currently on anything, because he usually shares Aureus with my other knights and stuff. So I think he's not on anything. I'm just gonna swap on Cursed Compass, so we lower the RNG. Okay, wait, maybe he's on something. Let's see here. Tywin, where's your handsome face, man? Oh yeah, he is on Aureus. Okay, so let's swap this. My Cursed Compass is not maxed either, but every bit helps. Every bit helps. Let's go. 9. So 32. Oh, that's good enough. 32. I mean, it's gonna be pretty unlucky if I don't get it. And now I'm gonna run C-Dom in the team for the elemental, the crit imprint and the crit buff. Doesn't really matter. Since I'm not on Hell Cutter right now, I have that 5% chance of missing. Although if I'm using an S3, I don't know. The S1 tests are gonna be too random, so I'm just gonna stick to the S3. Although, since you guys saw my GBG montage, most of the the cool factor of Luna is the S1 winter proc. So you guys already saw it in action. Okay, really bad graphics, broken graphics. Okay, we got the defense break on the guy in the back. So 55,000 with Hell Cutter. Let's see, Uberius Tooth. We're gonna calculate after it procs. So hopefully it procs. I'm gonna nuke out the guy in the front there because he really has nothing to offer us in this test.
Leave it to me.
And I did soul burn it, I think. So let me try that.
A desire for revenge.
No, I didn't soul burn it the first time. 71,000, 75. Okay, let me do this test again for Hell Cutter. So 75,000 after Uberius Tooth proc. It was 71k without Uberius Tooth, and then 75. So 75k with U Tooth. Okay, so let's run the Hell Cutter one again, because this time we got C-Dom. And so she has Toggle's Ancient Book. That's why she can soul burn on the first turn. Okay, just in case there are new players watching, it's like, hey, wait, why didn't one get soul burn? Just in case, I have to cover it in case. I think some people are saying that I think your videos are too. Anyways, whatever. Anyways, let's go. Let's just go. All right, so we got okay, Hell Cutter. I had a 55. That's without a soul burn, so it's gonna do more, of course. Again, from a 1.5 to a 2.2. So it's a pretty big difference. We need to land the defense break on the guy in the back. Okay, the attack buff. So DN is another subject. If Luna comes back, DN might come back soon. I don't know if they're gonna do it in a chronological order, but it could be. kill off the first guy.
Together. All right. I will guide you through the light.
Okay, DN actually goes. I'm just gonna do the barrier buff.
Give me strength.
Okay, here we go. Soul burn into the guy in the back.
On my honor as a dragon.
Charles would love those buffs on him. 79,000. So Hell Cutter already doing more damage. Oh, I'm actually surprised. 79,000 on Hell Cutter? Huh. That is interesting. That is interesting. That beats U-Tooth already by... Okay, well, another thing is that my Hell Cutter is not maxed. So technically we could have squeezed like, I think like a 2-3% more damage. The Ubius Tooth, now I'm actually curious. Wait, what happened there? Did I calculate it wrong? I don't know, man. I think it was 75,000. I'm gonna do it one more time, and then we're gonna run Portrait, and then we're gonna run what's it called? Draco Plate. So again, this is scaled on her attack, but it could change if I change up my Luna's build. So right now, doing the 4 artifact test on lifesteal set. So this is not my maximum damage output set either. So I do usually run her on attack set if I feel like, let's say we're fighting like life or ambition, and as I'm making this video, there's actually news on ambition. Feels bad, man, that they're disbanding. But when I'm fighting top end guilds, I do swap my Luna to attack set, just because, you know, depending on the team, of course. But if it's something I need to kill off really quick, I do use it. Let's do that here, and then we'll soul burn Luna.
Don't be scared.
Okay, so this is Uberius Tooth. Okay, let's see. 75% chance to proc, just because I've got a plus 15. Yeah, 75.8. Wow, Hell Cutter does a lot more. I'm actually really surprised at that. That's interesting, because most of the time I think most players run Hell Cutter for the crit rate buff, not exactly the attack buff. Like if people had an option, they would run Uberius Tooth most of the time. Unless you're running like ML Ravi, then Hell Cutter is better. That's actually surprising to me. So, you know, sometimes you know, I know a lot of people actually say to, hey Jay, you don't need to do these showcases. I can just run the math and I can find out it's stronger. But you know what? This looks cooler. This looks cooler. So I'm gonna go Portrait. So Portrait also does something different, because as each artifact I'm equipping, it is changing Luna's stats just ever so slightly. So we do have to keep that in mind, because the artifact, actually I don't think it could reflect it here. Yeah, it doesn't reflect here. The artifact does change the stats, and I'll probably show it here, and then we'll go back in. Again, the next test is Portrait. So this is kind of interesting. So Portrait is 3818. Hell Cutter would have been 5 attack less, and then Uberius Tooth, because of the level, it's 147. So I mean, but I don't think that makes it that much of a difference. Although if you wanted to get really technical, I suppose I should be running this test on all artifacts maxed. But I'm not a whale. I'm not a whale. All right. So I'm gonna go and do this. So next one is Portrait. So Portrait, I would say this will probably be the highest damage. That's my guess. But right now we have Hell Cutter and Portrait. Keep in mind that Hell Cutter is not maxed, but Portrait is. So technically, we should be expecting to do a lot more damage here, with Portrait, of course.
Do I need my sword?
Okay, let's go. Defense break.
Victory is calling me.
I will guide you through the light. Neighbor's evils.
What's kind of good about C-Dom in this one too is because that CR boost is helping me
Show you the power of
skip the enemy's turn. Otherwise, you can see on the timeline my Luna is actually behind the enemies, which is funny. But okay, here we go.
Ridiculous.
Soul burn into a 2.2 mod. Let's see how much damage we do. So this is Portrait. 87,000 damage. 87,000 damage on a defense break. Wow, 87k. This is Portrait. Wow. Okay. So yes. So Hell Cutter is not quite there in terms of that, but if you are lacking crit rate, and you really want to focus on high damage, and your Luna is relatively slow in terms of, you kind of know in a fight you'll have a couple heroes set up. Hellcutter stacks pretty quick if you think about it. Three turns before Luna, and she gets 12% crit rate, and that's discounting the fact that enemies haven't gone. So if enemies go, let's say if you're using, you know, one of the most popular, you know, team comps I run is DN, Luna, and F Maya, especially against Ruel, A Kali, and Dark Corvus comps. And in that case, Hellcutter, I mean, I could like, you know, just pretty much give myself like 50% crit rate, but Hellcutter will most likely stack like 6 times before Luna even gets a turn, because DN gets pretty much 2 turns before Luna goes, because of her S3 gives her 50% CR boost for the next turn, and then and then Assassin Kali on the other team, and Ruel and Dark Corvus. I'm probably get like a 6 stack. So okay, so here's my Draco Plate at the moment. I did go for it quite hard. I have an additional copy. This one's from the side story event. I think I'm gonna keep it as a dupe. This one I think I'm just gonna powder or bottle of knowledge this one. Only 2 more levels away, 3% more damage. Meh. At this point though, if I do land a critical hit, it is stronger than Portrait, 27%, so 7% more than Portrait of Saviors. And of course, like I said, why I say this is one of the best in slot warrior artifacts going forward is because even if you're not running on a damage dealer, it has a innate adamant shield in it, up to a 16% critical hit reduction. So if you run that with like someone has like Aureus on the team, your warrior is not really gonna die that quick. And again, it does depend. You can even strategically run the warrior as not even as a damage dealer, but as someone that to soak the damage. That could be future builds, future heroes might benefit from it. I just like the fact that there's basically a 2-in-1 in one artifact. But for someone like ML Ravi, and I know I'm talking about Draco Plate now, someone like ML Ravi would really love this, since ML Ravi does like self-heal and you want to damage mitigate as much as possible, etc, etc. So it's pretty cool. So anyways, we have Draco Plate on. Let me double check again. Equipped onto Luna. Oops. Artifact. Okay, it's on Luna. Okay, so let's do a damage test. So 87,000 is Portrait. We got 7% more damage if all goes according to plan. Should be a bit higher.
Ready. I will fight with all my might.
I will guide you through the light. My goddess, grant me the power to extinguish the evil.
I'm so excited!
The strongest.
Nixie! I am the strongest!
Leave it to me.
Okay, so Soburn again in the back.
My honor as
Let's
a
go.
dragon,
87k is the
I will
is the
punish
damage to beat here. 79.
Together.
79,000. That's a bit surprising to me in terms of why I landed the crit. Okay, so let me just write that down. 79k. I soul burned it, so I'm missing a soul on Draco Plate. Interesting. What could have happened here? So I won't be able to figure this out because I really don't know. I thought that it would, unless the calculation is just totally off. That's quite interesting. Let me just take a look at the description again. Increases critical hit damage by 27% while decreasing damage over. When more than one similar effect is granted, only the strongest effect is applied. So I don't have any critical hit damage buffs or bonuses, or even from other artifacts. So I would have expected to see a bit more damage. The only thing I can think of right off the top of my head, and I don't know if that would change it too much, is the fact that it just depends how this is multiplied. So in the order in the damage formula, how is this artifact actually multiplied? In terms of portrait, I can get, if it's 20% more damage, hold on, so let's take a look here. Let's take a look here. And I might be going off on a limb because this might not even make sense, but to me, like, again, why portrait might be better on like someone like Fire Ken is just because, let's say you're hitting an elemental disadvantage. Oh, where's my portrait? It's 4-star. Let me go there first, and then I'll finish this thought. I can never multitask. For you guys who know me, I cannot multitask for the life of me. Okay, so here we go. So on someone like Fire Ken, I always think that Portrait of Savior is really good, especially if you're fighting an RGB comp in GVG. Ken, when he does miss or he doesn't crit, let's say on Dizzy or something like that, he'll still do 20% more damage. And that 20% more damage, of course, is calculated after the fact of the entire damage formula. So with the Mola, with your attack scaling, so for Ken it's hybrid scaling, right? So that's why he's a bruiser. HP scaling and attack scaling, both scales, and then the total of that, and then it's 20% more damage. But of course, the only difference is that they have to be more than 50%. So on a boss fight, if they have a lot of HP, like talking about like Hall of Trials or Abyss or something like that, then Portrait of Savior is no good. I would say 100% still default to Draco Plate. But based on this, I'm thinking that the difference there is how the crit damage here is calculated. So apparently, judging by this is not calculated at the very end like Portrait is. 27% no matter what should get us more. The other factor I was considering though, just on the top of my head, is that with Portrait, it should also scale the elemental advantage portion as well. So that's probably where we're getting some of the damage, but I really think it's the damage formula. The time where the multiplier on the Portrait is different from the critical hit damage. So let me do one more run here with Draco Plate, just so I'm not like, you know, maybe I'm dozing off. Let me see here. So okay, so Draco Plate's still on. I'm gonna run one more Portrait. So Portrait right now seems to be in terms of like, let's say you're using Luna for PvP. You're trying to like, let's say kill that nasty Ruel or that Dark Corvus or something, then Portrait might still be better. So I wanted to run this test too because I wanted to know that as well. I actually just safely assumed that Draco Plate is better. But if that is the case, I would say for J Kisei cleave comps, and this is just a note, because I don't J Kisei cleave comp, if you do J Kisei, Portrait is still better in this case. If what I'm saying is true, because her S2 does more damage with more people on the map. So it's a separate scaling. So based on my theory, your Portrait of Savior should actually do 20% more damage based on all of the different types of damage mods going into the skill itself. So in that case, Draco Plate may only be beneficial on J Kisei if you're attacking like an ML Ken comp or someone that hard counters. If you want her to survive the second turn cleave, that's it, I think. But let's do this again. Yeah, I'm not used to this too. She says 79,000. Yeah, so 79,000 on Draco Plate. Okay, so let's try this again. Let's do it on a Portrait. Yeah, I'm not used to this because for a year Luna has been saying Spear of Laguna, bleed. Now Spear of Ragnar. So I'm like, when I first heard it, I'm like, what? Okay, anyways, let's go equipped, and let's go equip this on Luna now. Back to Portrait again, and I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. The actual stat itself in terms of how much the artifact gives in attack stat, I don't think it really factors into this. 87,000 on Portrait versus 79,000 on Draco Plate is a huge difference. So right now Draco Plate is doing about the same damage as the Hell Cutter, which that is surprising to me as well. So I think another damage test would most likely be if it's a percentage of the critical hit damage, you know, with a different build affected as well. So let's do that test. After this one, it's just, again, it's a sanity check. After I do this one, I'm going to run Luna with the same artifacts, but with
On my
a different
honor
set.
as a dragon,
So hopefully that will also give us some interesting readings. Yeah, 87,000. Yeah, there's no doubts there. No doubts there. I'm actually really surprised. Okay, so I'm gonna change Luna's build. We're gonna run her on the my heavy. I would call it the heavy hit set. I am very surprised. I'm very surprised because we have C-Dom buffing us. I'm gonna cheat it a bit. I'll show you guys what I usually run in terms of my heavy hit set. Actually, I'm gonna do this one first. This is what I usually run on my heavy hit set. At least these are the pieces. Now this is an expensive swap every time I have to do it, but I don't do it often. Again, it's only when I do high-end GVG and only if I think that Luna will be beneficial for the fight. So here, as you can see, that this is what I usually run. I would still run Hellcutter, so she, again, because her speed is even slower than the lifesteal set, she actually doesn't have a problem getting maximum critical hit by the time she goes. Now, the only problem with Hellcutter, and this is again for newer players that don't understand Hellcutter or don't know it yet fully, if you do a dual attack, the Hellcutter actually resets, so you have to restack it by then. So for example, if you use like Tamarine and Luna, and Tamarine dual attacks Luna, and Luna gets the turn after Tamarine, by the time Luna gets a turn, she has no Hellcutter stacks. She uses it all up. So that's something to keep in mind in case you need to do some planning. For this though, so again, the build on the right is what I usually run. I would commit to it. Actually, I'll just commit to it right now. But then for this fight, because we have a bit more crit rate based on C-Dom's buff, I'm going to run a bit higher crit damage, 7% more crit damage for lower of a 7 attack, which to me is fair game. Now the difference between them is that this one has a 30% attack, this one has a 24%, but this one has higher base attack because this one's a T71, so 60. I'm not losing much. I think I will do more damage on the build on the right now, so I'm gonna commit to this. So let me go back, and we're gonna do again with the same setups, same artifacts. We'll run it in the same order. I'm gonna swap this back to the Hellcutter that I had, and we'll see the reflection of the stats as well in real time. So let me do Hellcutter first. So 4-3-5-7, 285% crit damage. Another thing to know is that if you guys watch my ego fragment or imprint concentration video where I reviewed all the heroes imprint concentration and my thoughts on them, I did unlock Lunas for the first week. So also I'm going into the fights with the 18% more attack. That's just FYI in case you guys didn't see it. But I'm pretty sure you guys are pretty good at checking out those little details. So no problem. Let's run Hellcutter first. This is on the attack set now. More crit damage, more attack. So regardless, no matter what, this should give us a lot more damage output for all 4 artifacts going forward. I am curious of just scaling the attack higher. How would that affect the artifact itself? So I'm gonna definitely check. Why did I get a... Oh, right. I see. I have to do because I swapped out gear. So another little pro tip, I guess. If you gear your heroes, it actually takes away from your inventory slot. So it only counts the gear that is not put on your heroes. So because I ungeared technically Vildred and BBK for this, I overcapped. Okay, here we go. Hellcutter, first things first.
I'm always ready. I will.
She's a bit slower now, so I might not even be able to get the first turn, even with the CR boost.
Let's advance together. Meet those evils.
I'm making a note here, so this is the separate build now. Hellcutter.
Look at me.
Hellcutter times 3.
I will show you.
Yeah, I might make it. My C-Dom's S3 is not maxed, so the crit...
I'm the
Yeah, it's fine, it's fine.
I believe
Alright, Hellcutter is
what the
5.
goddess
Oh, that's a bit of a cheat. The end cut in.
My goddess.
So this is Hellcutter 6. Whatever. We'll get rough numbers. We're comparing the artifacts to each other, not exactly the builds. So let's go. Soulburn S3.
a desire for revenge.
96,000. Okay, so 96,000 damage. 96k. This is Hellcutter. So you can see why I do swap it sometimes. Now the only reason why, you know, someone may ask, well, why don't you just keep your Luna that way? I have my reasons for running her on a lifesteal set. I like it because if I'm running like a rod healer, so for example DN, and she can literally only heal through rod at this moment, unless she gets a buff in the future, she'll heal the lowest health. And for Luna to get a lifesteal set, it will always help me control my HP thresholds. I really like that aspect, and I like keeping it. So Uberia's Tooth now. Let's run this. Hopefully we do land a lucky proc and just get it done. So U-Tooth, before on the lifesteal build, it was 71,000 damage with the crit, and then Uberia's Tooth proc added another 4.8k, so 75.8k damage.
With all my might.
Let's advance together. My goddess.
Yeah,
grant me the
U-Tooth.
power
Okay.
to extinguish the evil.
96,000 with Hell Cutter.
The strongest. Nick Seed. Freeze.
Leave it to me. On my honor as a dragon, I will punish you.
87 to 91. Okay, so 87 to 91k with U-Tooth. So in my opinion, you know, I know a lot of people run Luna on Uberia's Tooth, but I mean, I'm running both builds here, and I'm looking at it. Hell Cutter beats it by a long shot. I don't know why people run U-Tooth. I'm thinking right now, is there a benefit to Uberia's Tooth over Hell Cutter? I'm not quite sure. So the other thing is, like, I think there's no 100% answer. Some people were saying that Hell Cutter stacks based on the base attack, and then someone did a test. Someone, I don't think he even play Epic 7 anymore, but he was a friend. I consider him a friend. He ran a test on Surmia. He said Hell Cutter actually stacks on the total attack, so kind of like Luna's passive. And right now I'm actually pretty convinced that's the case. Otherwise, Uberia's Tooth is really bad. Like, in terms of like attack, we're way above where Uberia's Tooth is effective in terms of having attack. So it technically should be doing more damage. But right now I'm actually convinced Hell Cutter is actually stacking from the total attack, not the base attack. Because if you think about 12% on the base attack is what, like 100 attack? I don't think it would make that much of a difference. So right now Hell Cutter looks like it's stacking from the total attack. So that's interesting. Okay, so now let's run. So this is the next one. This is Portrait. So Portrait is now. I'm surprising myself with my own videos. I'm learning.
Calling me.
Cool. All right. I like it.
This is
I
what
like
the
it.
goddess wills, you pitiful beings.
So I think I gotta keep more Hell Cutters around, because Hell Cutter is looking to be a rather worthy investment.
I said look at me.
On slow nukers, I do have to set that as a precedent, because that's very important to know.
Strongest.
Okay,
Let's
DN still
advance
cuts in on
together.
this one.
Give me
Yeah, because my I see what's going on, because my build is too slow. 8 speed slower than my previous. Here we go. This is Portrait. Soul Burn. 105. Okay, so 105k. Sorry, I got a bit loud. I get excited. 105k damage. This is Portrait. Alright, so cool. Now, Draco Plate. So another thing I just thought of. Draco Plate may actually suffer compared to Portrait if the player you're fighting against is running crit damage reduction passives. So in terms of like C Armin, or even themselves running Draco Plate, or running Adamant Shield. Based on how this is going right now, I think that's the case. You're actually going to get a lot lower damage with Draco Plate compared to Portrait. Huh. Very interesting findings. Okay, so let's continue.
Do I need my sword?
Last one. So this is Draco Plate now with the new build. And I'm thinking that Portrait is still going to take the
I
lead.
believe this is what the goddess wills. My goddess. Grant me the power to extinguish.
Yeah, I don't see how Draco Plate can beat
I will
this.
show you the power of Nixie.
I will show you.
The power of Nixie. Freeze. Cha.
I will guide you through the light. Please save us.
Don't be scared.
Here we go. Soul Burn. Last one.
Burning hatred. A desire for revenge.
95,000. Oof.
I'm
Oof.
always ready.
Okay. So I'm actually not super convinced that that Draco Plate is a stronger artifact in terms of damage dealing. Let's see, Draco Plate. Yeah. So I mean, those are the findings here. Let me see if there's any difference in terms of the percentage difference between the two builds. So I just have my calculator open right now. So again, let's compare Portrait to Draco Plate specifically. If I do, let's see. About a 9%, no, about a 10% difference for the previous build. Let's see what the new one would be. With the current build right now, I do about 105k, 95k. Okay, so let me do that. I think it's about the same actually. The percentage wise, I think it's the same in terms of improvement. So 95k. Yeah, identical. So no difference. So in terms of just the effectiveness of the artifact itself, I think wow, I think Draco Plate is actually not as good in terms of it's not a better portrait with Adamant Shield. It's a very strong warrior artifact with Adamant Shield. That being said, not just because it had lower damage than portrait, you should not be discouraged that this is a good artifact. It's still a good artifact in terms of I mean 14, 16%, whatever percent you get your crit rate reduction on. That's still a reduction to your overall damage suffered by your hero. So if they land a crit, of course. So I mean, it's not a loss whatsoever. This is still a good artifact. But is it as hyped as it needs to be? Because I think a lot of people, and even myself, I made that mistake too. I ran into the assumption that this is better than Portrait, and it has Adamant Shield. So therefore, this must be like super OP. Now that I run these tests, I'm not 100% convinced that's the case. I am interested to see though on someone like ML Robbie, and I know I'm going a bit off topic right now because now we're doing a Draco Plate test and not really a Luna test. But actually, you know, I think this was meant to be a Luna showcase / Draco Plate test anyway, since this is the banner right now. So hopefully, you know, this ends up being informative for players to make a decision on, you know, what you want to get, right? Like, if you got Luna, do you want to still go for the Draco Plate? I'm not 100% sure about that, but we'll see. I'm gonna use a yeah. I'm just going to test. Now, I'm not gonna do the Hellcutter test for the Apocalypse Robbie. I'm only gonna do the Portrait one, Portrait and Draco Plate. Again, I do think for Apocalypse Robbie though, on offensive team, having Draco Plate is very nice to have. So I'm not gonna be taking that away. If you're going into a fight, let's say GVG or Arena, and you're completely free of damage in terms of on Apocalypse Robbie, like there's no specimen says you're facing, for example, I think you could run her on Portrait if this ends up being more damage. So because ML Robbie has damage scaling from attack very high, by the way, and HP, Portrait technically should still be king. We'll do the test on the guy in the back as well. We could compare to Luna. That'd be kind of fun. I mean, yeah. I'm gonna soul burn. I'm gonna cheat it a bit. I'm gonna soul burn only the S1. This one's max molded. 36,000. That's Portrait. Okay, so 36,000 on ML Robbie with Portrait. Let's check out Draco Plate. And then I think we can end this. Let's see. Luna has it. I'm just gonna unequip, and we'll swap this in. Draco Plate. Done. Let's go.
Do I need my sword? I will fight with all my might.
I will guide you through the light. My goddess, grant me the power to extinguish the evil.
Look at me.
I think for the video, I'm actually gonna break down the Luna stats versus the artifact testing, because the artifact testing actually ended up being the most important part, I think,
I believe
in this
goddess,
video.
my goddess.
So I'll probably break it down. If you're watching this on YouTube, you already have the benefit of jumping to the topic you want. Anyways, I should have said that earlier though. All right, let's go.
Stop bothering me.
33. Yeah. So I don't think that's close. 33,000. 33. Actually, wait a minute. That was pretty close. 33,000, and I soul burned it. Let me double check if I soul burned it. 33,000.
I'm always ready.
Yeah, I did soul burn it.
I will guide you through the light.
Yeah, so the difference here, I don't think is as big. 33,000. Sorry, my memory is so bad, especially when I just went off topic. Let me do it one more time. 33,000 damage with Draco Plate. I think it was like 35 on portrait. Memory of a goldfish, I'm telling you right now. Okay, let's go. 33,000. Okay, Draco Plate 33. Go portrait again. On a defense break. That was a defense break, yeah.
Leave it to me.
Okay.
I will never miss.
Let's advance together. You pitiful beings. Death is your repentance.
Freeze.
Because I'm
I
expecting...
will show you. The power of Nixeed.
Let me
I'm
see.
the strongest. Ha!
I believe this is what the goddess
Give me
wills.
strength. Your life ends here. Die, insect.
So this is portrait. 36. Interesting though. Interesting that the difference between the two is 9%. And a pretty big marginal 9%. As in, like, it's distinctly 9% difference. Actually, I'm really curious what's going on in terms of the damage formula. Anyways, we'll end this here. I mean, instead of Jagan trying to be scientific and mathematical, which I'm just not good at, that's interesting. Oh, did I calculate that wrong? No, I didn't. Anyways, so that's it. That's it for this. Hopefully this has been informative. Again, Luna, I think she's really good. You could use her as a in defense only if, I would say only if you have her very, very fast with a double elemental threat. So for example, if you run like a, let's say Biken, like a speedy Biken on a defense team, and you run Luna like right after, that can work because no matter what target Biken goes for, Luna as an AI on a defense team with the elemental advantage, she'll go for the lowest HP. So I've seen those kind of comps work before. The only thing of course is then you're only using Luna in a speed comp, with which if your enemy has like a faster Oxlots with like a speed imprint on it, then it's pointless running Luna because she can't really survive a cleave, especially let's say that J Kisei cleave, unless again you do come up with a defense team that deterrents that kind of team comp or play with some kind of, I don't know, I can't even think of it right now, but like I guess Fire Corvus would have been a decent one in the past, but they would probably have run like J Kisei, Oxlots, and like Watcher Shuri, so that doesn't work. So that is why I think Luna has been kind of gone from the meta, although I still see her sometimes, but usually not in a top 20 guild. Anyways, that's my thoughts on it. Luna is still very good as a single target damage dealer for PvE, PvP content when you can use her. Use her on a speed set if you don't run CR boosters or some sort of bait tactics where you're baiting away damage to your heroes. Otherwise, she's very good. You guys saw it on those montages and whatnot. So I'm gonna end this here for the Luna showcase stats, builds, and then also the artifact test. So if you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on the next next video. See you guys later.